Hi there! Today's video and health chat is on fermented cauliflower. Fermented cauliflower is today's star of the show because cauliflower contains a phytonutrient that has actually been proven to fight cancer cells. What is it? Stay tuned and I'm going to share that with you. But first, I want to say hi and welcome to my channel, Clean Food Living, where I do a variety of video subjects on clean food life. I cover how-to videos on subjects like traditional food preparation, such as fermented foods. I do a lot of videos on fermented foods. I also do videos on wild edibles, fresh herbal teas, and detox and cleansing. If that sounds good to you, then hit that subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner of your screen and then ding the little bell icon so that you're notified each time I upload a new video. I've got this video divided into two parts. In part one, we're going to have our lovely little health chat where I'm going to share with you what that ingredient is in cauliflower that actually kills cancer cells. Then in part two of this video, we're going to get down and into it on how to make fermented cauliflower step by step, super easy. And if you're new to fermenting, there is no need to be intimidated. All you need is a glass jar, no fancy equipment, and a willingness to try. Without further ado, let's get started. I love doing health chats because I think it is so important to know why you want certain foods in your diet. For me, I am never satisfied with just saying, yeah, vegetables are good for you. I want to know why they're good for you and why they are so healing to the body. And then that just fires me up and motivates me to actually eat more of them. So I want to share information with you so that you have that same motivation of implementing more nutritious foods into your clean food lifestyle. So what is this phytonutrient that I mentioned in the opening of this video that has actually been proven to kill cancer cells? It's called sulforaphane. Sulforaphane is a natural plant compound that is sulfur-based, hence the name sulforaphane, that is found in cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower, kale, and broccoli. Raw vegetables actually have 10 times more sulforaphane in them than in their cooked form. But just because the vegetable has more of it in its raw state than in the cooked form doesn't mean your body's necessarily absorbing it. There are anti-nutrients in vegetables that actually are working to protect the vegetable itself in its garden state, protecting it from things like insects and such. However, these anti-nutrients can actually make the nutrients not as bioavailable to the human body. So where fermentation comes in, what I love so much about it, is that those little lacto-fermenting bacteria, aka probiotics, part of their bioprocess is not only replicating to the trillions so that your gut is populated with incredible amounts of healthy probiotics, but they also work on those anti-nutrients, disabling them and making the nutrients such as magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, iron, and so on more bioavailable to your body. Now, I did another video and health chat on just exactly this, the increased absorption rate of nutrients in fermenting. So if you want to learn more about that, you can check out my fermented kale video here. I've got a link right up here in the corner, so if you want to learn more there and also learn how to ferment kale, you can check that out. But back to sulforaphane, it's my theory that not only the fermentation process increases bioavailability to minerals and vitamins, but also to other phytocompounds like sulforaphane in the cauliflower and in your broccoli and your kale. Briefly, here are a few main highlights of sulforaphane and what it does in your body, and then after that we're going to dive into part two of this video and make ourselves some fermented cauliflower. Sulforaphane neutralizes toxins. It's a phytochemical antioxidant that cancels out free radicals. And in case you didn't know already, free radicals are tiny particles that weaken and damage healthy cells. They form in your body because of pollution, UV rays, food additives, and preservatives. They can also form in your body through just natural processes like digestion. Sulforaphane neutralizes those free radicals. Sulforaphane also reduces inflammation. Because sulforaphane neutralizes toxins, it also calms inflammation in your body. Inflammation has been linked to several kinds of cancer even. Studies have shown that sulforaphane may protect your DNA by blocking mutations in DNA that can lead to cancer. Sulforaphane has been shown to reduce the ability of cancerous cells to multiply. That means it may slow tumor growth or reduce the cancer's ability to spread to other parts of the body. Now, if that doesn't get you revved up to make some fermented cauliflower, then I don't know what will. So let's get started. First, inspect the cauliflower and then cut off the little brown bad parts. Next, we want to just cut our cauliflower up into bite-sized chunks. Something kind of like this. Now, an added bonus of purple cauliflower is the phytonutrient called anthocyanin. Anthocyanin is what actually gives the cabbage its purple color. So other vegetables like purple potatoes, eggplant will also have high amounts of anthocyanin. It too also fights free radicals, is an anti-inflammatory, has anti-cancer benefits, and is an antiviral. Okay, I'm going to get into my orange cauliflower here. You want to break the base off. We're not going to be fermenting those. Now, what gives orange cauliflower its orange color is the beta carotene, just like with carrots. Or even winter squash. There's another orange vegetable really high in beta carotene. I think we've all heard it enough in our growing up that carrots are good for your eyes. Well, it's the beta carotene in carrots that's good for your eyes. But it's also really good for your brain, your skin, and your lungs. This guy is so big, I'm actually just going to break off some chunks first before I start cutting. Today I'm just going to be using a quart-sized jar for the cauliflower. But as you will be able to see with these chunks, they're rather large and they're space-taking. So unlike fermenting cabbage or kale, we're not going to be able to really compact the cauliflower much more than what it already is. So if you have a lot of cauliflower, you can use a gallon-sized jar as well. Alright, so I have all my cauliflower chunks ready to go. But before we start adding them to the jars, first we're going to make our brine. Brine is simply sea salt added with water. The salt water creates an environment that is perfect for lacto-fermenting bacteria, aka probiotics, to flourish and multiply, which is exactly what we want them to do. So we're going to cover our cauliflower in the jars with the brine water, so the cauliflower under the salt water will not mold and will properly ferment. The most common coverall ratio of water to sea salt is 1 tablespoon per 2 cups of water. Now, these quart-sized jars hold 4 cups of liquid, but after we add the cauliflower, we're not going to have the space in the jar to add a full 4 cups. We'll probably be adding around 2 cups. And since I've got 2 jars here that I want to fill, I'm going to go ahead and prepare my brine as 4 cups with 2 tablespoons of sea salt. What I like to use always is a quality sea salt, and in this case, this is the Himalayan pink salt. If you're using another type of sea salt, just make sure that it doesn't have any anti-caking agents, because some companies like to sneak that in there. And also make sure that you use really pure clean water. Don't use city tap water because it has chlorine and other chemicals in it that could inhibit the fermentation. So if you are on city water, I really highly recommend to just run to the grocery store and pick up some bottled spring water. Give the brine a little stir so that the salt dissolves. And then we're just going to set it aside while we add the cauliflower to the jars. I think it's pretty common sense to say that your jar should be sterilized before you start packing the cauliflower. Now the fun part. So I'm just going to add these different colors in here. And if you just got one color, just put your cauliflower in. You kind of want to work it around a little bit so that it's as compact as it's going to be. I think that's about as full as I want to go because we're going to still need to put a cabbage leaf on top and add our brine. But as you can see, with just the nature of chunky cauliflower, it's not going to be super airtight, but we want that brine water in between all those gaps so that there's no oxygen beneath the water level line. Okay, I'm going to start adding the brine now. Actually, I want to show you this. I'm going to abort mission here for a moment. I think I've got my jar still too full, so I am going to take out a couple of these top pieces, and I don't want to edit this out because this could be helpful to somebody. There we go. Now I got way more space at the top, and you'll see why we need that space in just a second. So again, make sure that the cauliflower is completely covered with the brine, which we got here. And the cauliflower right now is staying down pretty well, but as it ferments, it will want to float up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some weights on top to keep it under and submerged in that brine water. So we're gonna use a cabbage leaf at first. And I love cabbage leaves because they're thick and they create a nice friction along the glass of this jar. It does a really nice job holding down whatever vegetable you're fermenting underneath. So if you watch more of my videos, you'll see cabbage leaves are used every time. So I'm just gonna remove these little floaties here on top, add a little more cabbage leaf there. Now, if a little bit of the cabbage leaf is left exposed to the air, that's okay. What we really wanna make sure is that all the cauliflower is beneath the brine level. That is most important. Because like I said earlier, everything submerged in that brine is going to be protected. Then I'm going to add this glass fermenting weight, and that's going to just go right on top here. And it's made for a wide mouth jar, which is usually the best jar to do fermenting in because you can get your hand in there. Now I'm just going to take this out because I want to show you something. If you don't have a fermenting weight yet, a glass fermenting weight, you can get one on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below. But for today, so that you're not skunked with your ferment, what I use here is, this is my fermenting rock. Now this is not just straight from the driveway that I'm going to use in my ferment. I have since scrubbed it really well with hot soapy water and then boiled it for 20 minutes, and now this rock's job in life is a fermenting weight. So you only really need to just scrub it down the one time and boil it and such. And then each time you're ready to use it, just give it a quick wash again. However, I did this for years and years and years before I ever bothered to get a glass fermenting weight on Amazon. So you just put the rock right on top there like that, and it does the same job as the glass fermenting weight. So now what do we do? Well, if you have a fermenting jar lid, you can do that. However, your rock will need to be down below the jar line there. Or you can use a coffee filter like what I do, and you put the coffee filter on top, and then you put the jar ring right there. It snaps right on, and now you have a DIY, super simple fermenting lid. The coffee filter keeps debris out, but also allows the gases from the fermentation to be released. And there we go. Now let's fill our second jar. Alrighty, I got my cabbage, and in this case, I am going to use my glass fermenting lid, add my coffee filter, and my jar ring. You're going to place your jars on the countertop for anywhere from 5 to 7 days. If you live in a really warm environment, then 5 days will be adequate. And if you live further north like I do, for cauliflower, 7 days is a nice time to ferment. Now don't go away because I'm going to show you the end result of this cauliflower in 7 days. But first I want to give you a little tip. I am chronically guilty of overfilling my fermenting jars, and so as they sit on the counter, sometimes the juices overflow onto the counter. So what I do is I set my jars in a little baking dish like this, and I've got some bigger pans as well where I can fit multiple jars, but this catches any overspill. Of course, if you don't have the chronic problem of overfilling your ferment jars like I do, or you've got the fancy schmancy fermenting lids, okay, you're not going to have the spilling problem. But if you're just a simpleton fermenter like I am, these are the little DIY tips that are helpful. I'll see you again in 7 days. Okay, it's actually only been 5 days, and I can tell that these guys are ready, partly by the smell and just the look of how things are going. So let's take a look and see how it went. As you can see here, the purple cauliflower bled a lot into the brine. Totally okay. Let's remove this fermenting weight. We'll pull the cabbage out and take a look at the top here. Absolutely beautiful. Let's take a look at the other one. Let's do the fork test. There she is, beautiful. When you're ready to store these, just discard the coffee filter, put on a normal lid on the top, put it in your fridge, and it'll be good there for weeks to months. If you want to see some other of my fermenting videos that are beginner friendly, you can check them out right here. then hit that subscribe button, ding the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!